How would you feel about a mandatory mental health checkup as part of your yearly medical exam?
Yearly medical exam? What are you talking about?
If it meant I get some sort of treatment that didn't result in a huge bill later, then cool.
I mean, I'd like to be able to get a yearly medical exam before I start worrying about mental health.
Mandatory? No thanks. Highly encouraged. Subsidized. Day off work to go get your mental health checked out? National holiday for mental health checkups? Yes, all that. Mandatory? No thanks. It's incredibly hard to do. Except for the really extreme cases, most mentally ill people are capable of appearing normal, especially people with depression, anxiety, if they want to.
Forced? Yikes.
Greater than yearly medical exam lol.
I mean, that sounds great in concept, but also the sort of thing that would instantly be turned to be used against every sort of marginalized group that exists within like 14 minutes of being implemented.
My doctor always does this to an extent at my yearly checkups. Always asks where my stress and anxiety levels are, if I'm depressed, mood swings, etc. She always tries to give me anti-anxiety meds, very high stress job, but I always decline.
How would you feel about banning these type of posts? I think making most any health issue mandatory is a dangerous slippery slope. Vaccines I understand in most cases, but not a mental health checkup. Wait, stop. I didn't write that. There's someone else in here who's typing. Someone help. Send a mandatory health specialist ASAP.
A good PCP should be keeping an eye out for mental health warning signs anyway.
Why mandatory? Optional mental health check or an optional therapy session, sure, but why mandatory checkup when all health checkups aren't mandatory? It sounds like a government keeping tabs on people more than it sounds like helping people.
Orwellian as fuck. And who gets a yearly medical exam? Fuck that. Nobody is going to mandatory anything on me.
Can't have a mandatory mental health check if you don't have an annual exam. Fuck off with these shitty "how would you feel" posts.
I don't believe in mandatory anything.
Mandatory how?
Mandatory. No optional exams would be okay. Do I get a locator chip implant as well?
Oh good, a bunch more questions that I'd just give the right answers to in order to get out of there. No, stop with the karma whoring. What the hell is a yearly medical exam?
What are the consequences? I'm not okay with that. Medical professionals are not infallible, and I don't want to worry about losing my job or being put into a ward because someone was having a bad day or found some arbitrary reason to mark me as crazy. Where do we go from there? Mandatory medication? I understand that this idea probably comes from a good place, but no thank you. I would think that it would have less to do with my health and it would be more about harvesting information for insurance companies and big pharma. Mandatory? Nah. Standard and free, sure. Nothing should be mandatory.
You guys do yearly medical exams?
Mandatory lol, fuck off.
More control ceded to the government. Yay.
Yearly medical exam?
Who deems if you're mentally fit? That's the real question here. Sounds like a form of control.
My doctor office has a short, maybe 3 to 5 question depression screening they do for each visit. I think it's a great idea, aside from maybe patients having stigma of having the questions verbally asked by the nurse assistant. Maybe more honest answers if the questions were on a paper, electronic survey the patient filled out themselves. No, hell no.
Till I'm supposed to have a yearly medical exam.
My school does a depression screening every time you go to the clinic, which is a legit doctor's office, but the nurses are all RNs that are in school to get their BSNS. Unfortunately, this causes a lot of misdiagnosis, as a lot of the on-paper symptoms for depression are the same as for anxiety. I was given antidepressant on my first visit until explained that I don't have depression, I have anxiety, which have very similar paper symptoms: hopelessness, disinterest, overwhelmed, etc. No. Because the government will be the one that determines what is crazy and what is not. They will also tighten and loosen the rules depending on what they need. This can become a bad situation quickly.
I am against mandatory anything. Health insurance, sentencing, family leave. Let the market work these things out, and let people use judgment. Maybe not mandatory, but included would be nice. Those mental diagnosis tests can be expensive, so I'd be on board if it was included in the yearly checkup.
Mandatory, no optional and free as part of a larger, socialized healthcare program. Count me in. The fuck? Am I still supposed to be getting yearly medical exams? I haven't gotten one of those since I was like 12. Ugh, being gay used to be a mental health issue.
Yeah, no, mental health isn't a science, it is opinions, and opinions have loyalties and can be bought. Other than that? Mandatory by who? Who pays for it? Why? What is the goal? How would they measure it?
A diagnosis is only as good as the resources that follow it. I'm down for it if it meant people actually get help.
I'd say fuck that. I'm not paying that much money for someone to tell me something I already know.
Didn't realize people went in for yearly exams. What is the purpose of having an exam when you are healthy? Also, I am currently at the doctor's office. I just got a patient health questionnaire that asked how often I have been bothered with mental problems. I experience the things they ask about, but it doesn't really bother me.
That's complicated. I think yearly mental health checkups should be as available as physical ones, and as free of stigma, but making either physical or mental health checkups mandatory isn't right either. People should have a right to decide what medical services they do and don't want. We out here getting yearly medical exams like it's year 3000.
Yeah, that's gonna be a no from me. No matter how it's implemented, if it's even a tiny bit mandatory, you're going to get people being institutionalized over stupid bullshit, whether that's racism, sexism, classism, or just the doctor having a bad day. You'd hurt a lot more people than you helped.
No offense to any family doctors, but most family, internal medical doctors are ill-equipped to deal with major psychiatric issues. It is one thing if you just need help with minor depression, but major illnesses are something major. I have seen people majorly decline in life because they were misdiagnosed and mistreated. Leave it to psychiatry.
I don't like the government making anything mandatory. Same way I feel about most any mandatory thing. I'm a fucking adult. It shouldn't be up to the government to manage my mental health. Services should be available to me should I need them, but I should by no means be required to participate in them unless I've already shown myself to be a threat.
No, nothing should be mandatory.
What yearly medical exam?
What's a yearly medical exam?
My doctor asked me if I felt depressed. I said no, then I got a separate line charge for $100 plus during my annual exam. Thankfully it was covered, but that was ridiculous. ETA, I wouldn't be against it, but there would have to be clear guidelines of how to go about it. Just asking, "Are you depressed?" doesn't seem effective.
Doc, well, tests came back. Looks like you're still fucked in the head, me, yup.
Mandatory? Fuck no. More laws? No thanks, we've got more than enough government already.
Yearly medical exam? Lol.
My yearly what?
This is an awful idea. Think of the negatives that could come out of this. The billing, misdiagnosis, etc. Horrible.
Yearly medical exam? I haven't had a medical exam since sophomore year in high school more than 30 years ago. People have yearly exams? I just go when I am severely ill or it's an emergency. Too expensive.
No, when I started getting help I did it because I was ready to, nothing worse than trying to force it on someone.
I was thinking the same, do I need to revise for this exam?
Allow me to translate to American. Greater than how would you feel about a mandatory mental health checkup as part of your periodic visit to the ER every few years when your symptoms have evolved beyond what can reasonably be explained by bad leftovers or you've acquired a compound fracture?
Exactly, there's very little evidence that they are of benefit other than lining people's pockets.
https://www.theguardian.com/life-and-style/2018/april/09/should-we-health-check-https:/www.consumer.org.nz/articles/choosing-wisely-health-check-up.
Barack Obama voice, my fellow American.
Yeah, really. Maybe a 20-year tune-up.
Definitely relatable. Wrenched my back a couple months ago and didn't want to go to the doctors 'cause money. Even though I was still insured, one visit came with a lovely $110 bill, and that's getting off lightly.